The biggest off-season story by far in college football has been the announcement that Big 12 schools, Texas and Oklahoma, are leaving the conference for greener pastures. And you may be asking, Jasper, what greener pastures are you talking about? Well, my dear boy, I'm talking about the SEC, of course. When this story initially came out, it really didn't make any sense to me. OU is choosing between staying in the Big 12 and continuing to dominate year in and year out, or go to a conference where every game isn't guaranteed. As for Texas, them wanting to move to the SEC made no sense at all. But then I did some research and used the old noggin to think about the Big 12 situation, and realized that this may be the best option for both teams financially. In today's video, we'll be talking about OU and Texas potentially joining the SEC, how this can cause a complete domino effect across the whole college football landscape. If you like sports, especially college football, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and comment on who or what I should cover next. I recently just did a video on a former SEC quarterback y'all should check out. I'll add a card above and put a link in the description. And make sure you stay until the end of the video. Now, without any more interruptions, let's talk about Texas and OU. So on Wednesday, the Houston Chronicle was the first to break the news that UT and OU reached out to the SEC conference about joining the league. Brett Zerman, the Chronicle's Texas A&M beat writer, reported that an announcement could come within a couple of weeks regarding the addition of OU and Texas for the 14-team SEC. The news broke before Big 12 Media Day, but one thing that Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby even went so much as to thank reporters and media for not asking about the big question that most people were probably there for. The other Texas school, A&M, made their opinion on Texas wanting to move into the SEC very clear, and they want to be the only Texas school in the SEC. Well guys, it's official, the news has finally came out. OU and Texas have joined the SEC as the conference recently extended them an offer right when I was editing this video. Oklahoma and Texas will both be joining the conference on July 1st of 2025, and maybe even leaving earlier as they requested to end their media rights with the Big 12 as soon as they possibly can. And let's not forget that this story is not over, as Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby accused ESPN of colluding with Texas and Oklahoma to leave the conference, and according to his cease and desist letter, they're still trying to poach teams from the Big 12 to benefit their pockets. First, just for me as a Kentucky football fan, it's the worst possible thing ever. For our middle tier schools in the conference, this will not be a kiss of death, but rather a regulation to permanent purgatory. How does it feel, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi State, to have OU and to some degree Texas in your conference taking away wins from your program? And for the programs like LSU, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, this could mean just more competition for the coveted 4 playoff spots. And now on a macro level, the move to the SEC will mean the death of the Big 12, or if anything, lead them to reach out to as many Power 5 and Group of 5 teams to help remain relevant. But it is likely over for them, and now the fun part: which conferences will pick and poach at each schools. Realistically, if we look at the map of the college football landscape and we look at the schools that are in the Big 12 currently, West Virginia, who never should have been in the Big 12 in the first place, could possibly add further credibility to the AAC, as a majority of the schools in the conference are close to each other on the East Coast, and facing old Big East foes Cincinnati could be in their in-conference rival, and it just makes sense geographically with both schools being fairly close to each other. Kansas, Iowa State, and K-State could potentially just see themselves moving into the Big Ten because they're already geographically close by, and they're not as academically as prestigious as many of the other Big Ten schools. But again, this is the whole reason this is happening is because of money, which I will get into later. For the rest of the teams, I really don't see a fit geographically. Maybe Texas Tech to the Pac-12, but another solution for the Big 12 would be to just say bye to Texas and OU and add schools like BYU, Air Force, and Colorado State to at least have the opportunity to keep their conference intact. This would likely mean taking a step down as a Power 5 conference, as the AAC, in my opinion, has been the strongest Group of 5 conference since the college football playoffs begun. But the reason for this move from Texas and OU is simply due to money first and football second. The amount of money that OU and Texas and the rest of the SEC are estimated to make when they join the conference will be outrageous. If you've ever been to a big 4-year college in America, you know that your school bleeds the students and everyone else on campus for as much money as they possibly can, whether it's parking fees, wanting to eat overpriced Chick-fil-A or Panda Express in the dining halls, paying for overpriced dorms, and just etc, etc, etc. Well, with an actual network behind them, and ESPN arguably being the best in the business of covering college football, it makes total sense financial-wise. And honestly, if I was still in school, I would do everything I can to make it to a Texas and Oklahoma game whenever we played them at home. As for football-wise, OU will likely never be the same team that is expected to win 10 games each season. Unlike the Big 12, where they have been improving recently, but in the past they haven't really been that great of a conference as a whole. And they don't really play much defense in the Big 12 to begin with, leading to Oklahoma's long, sustained dominance in the league. There is very few guarantees outside of Vanderbilt in the SEC nowadays. For Texas, they have already been struggling to regain their past glory to begin with. Their fans proclaim the school to be back many times with every single big win, like when they beat Notre Dame, but it seems like Texas always ends up in the Texas Bowl with like 6 to 7 wins to their name. Don't be surprised if we see super conferences a la 16, 18, 20, hell, 50 plus teams, which I think will be just absolutely absurd and just bad for the game. I ultimately believe that the NIL rule was just a start into what college football will be changing into, practically being a D-League for the NFL. The time of the loyal local favorite college football player, kids playing for the right reasons, is all but seemingly over. Having the option to transfer, and most of the time players gain eligibility right away due to hardship waivers, and can leave a team even if they have potential but don't get that starting position right away. I believe athletes should have the right to make money off their names and association with their schools, and should be allowed to transfer and start if they believe they can do better under a different offensive or defensive scheme. But let's not kid ourselves. Injecting more money into the college game will ultimately lead to the death of the NCAA and college football as we know it. These schools have their own TV deals and full athletic departments to fully run their programs, from PR to student help. It's a whole effort. I worked for the athletic department where I went, and there was so many little small tiny positions that you would not be seeing at a lower level Division I school. But right now the NCAA is pretty much useless.
My demographic, 65 years old. I've been a college football fanatic my whole life. My dad graduated Michigan in 51, so I've been afflicted with the Wolverines my whole life. I got to tell you, this is all about the culture of Disney and the greed that they promote, and ESPN having to have it all. This same mentality pervaded my industry. They put 300 companies out of business, reduced it to 3. It's about monopolistic greed, and this is all about money, and the fans are the ones who are going to lose. The fans, the good fans of Texas and OU, are going to be just like Nebraska. I put this in a memo to you. Nebraska, it's not that they can't compete in the Big Ten, but all of a sudden they're coming up against schools that play a similar kind of physical game as them, and they're not that special anymore. In the Big 12, that was their bailiwick. That was their deal. Okay? And so this is going to diminish. And in the end, by the way, when these other conferences are diminished or destroyed, who's going to play who? What championship games are going to matter? Because the whole North and Midwest isn't going to give a crap about the SEC. I like to watch the games, but that's not my gravity. I'm an Ohio State, Michigan guy. A Notre Dame guy is never going to give a crap about Auburn versus Alabama. He's just not, any more than Alabama gives a crap about Michigan, Ohio State. In the end, they are destroying the geographical ties which made the rivalries. I'm a Yankee fan. I love the Red Sox. I don't hate them because it's the best rivalry in baseball. That's my joy. You're going to destroy these wonderful OU and Nebraska. That hurt Nebraska, losing that rivalry game.
Yeah.
I think the team went through an existential funk. Coming into the Big Ten. Existentially, who were they anymore? You lose your identity. You lose your culture. You got nothing. And now they're doing it to the whole damn NCAA. By the way, it's because the NCAA are perverted abrogators of their responsibility from day one. And now we've turned this into another professional league. And it's a sad day.
I used a clip from 365 Sports on YouTube. You guys should really go check their channel out. I think they do really great content. But the man that called in their show revealed a lot of the sentiments that I feel about the current status of college football and where it's going to be in the future. I love college football and love many of the changes that I'm seeing, but the last thing I want to do is see money complicate a great American game and cause the same freaking teams competing for the national championship over and over again, year after year after year. Parity is sometimes a bad thing, but what's the point if the college football playoff will consist of two SEC schools, Ohio State and Clemson? You saw back in 2012 that the ratings for the championship game featuring Bama and LSU were abysmal because no one cared to watch a game that featured two southern-based schools. Yeah, I mean, for people in Louisiana and Alabama, that was like the biggest thing ever, and for fans in the SEC, there's a big, huge game, and for fans of college football in general. But a Midwest college football fan that supports an Ohio State or a Michigan could give two craps less if LSU and Alabama are playing each other, or the Alabama-Auburn rivalry. They can give two craps less about any of that. And if that's the case, it's just pure monopolistic practices by ESPN and the SEC to just really destroy any and all competition that stands in this way. And that includes Fox and NBC and CBS, who they just recently took the rights from for the SEC to air all SEC football games. Today is the day, in my opinion, college football becomes a regional sport of the South, leaving the rest of the country rather uninterested. And that's all I have on the subject. If you guys loved or hated the video, let me know by smashing that like or dislike button. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and comment down below on who or what I should cover next. I recently just did a video on Colt Brennan and Andre Woodson. Y'all should go check those out.
And thanks for making it to the end of the video.
I appreciate the support, guys, and until next time, peace.